Honorable Chief Judge Stephen Bernard presiding. You may be seated.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is a special session of the Colorado Court of Appeals. We meet this afternoon to invest and to welcome the newest member of our court, Matthew Grove. What a day, huh? What a beautiful day. Even for those of us who were born and raised in Colorado, when you see a day like this, you're reminded of why we live here. My name is Steve Bernard, and I am the Chief Judge of the Court of Appeals. I have the privilege to serve on this court with these talented and dedicated individuals sitting to my right and to my left and behind me. Let me introduce them to you. Judge Daniel Taubman, Judge John Daly, Judge Robert Hawthorne, Deputy Chief Judge Gilbert Roman, Judge David Furman, Judge Diana Terry, Judge Jerry Jones, Judge Anthony Navarro, Judge Michael Berger, Judge Rebecca Freyre, Judge Elizabeth Harris, Judge Craig Welling, Judge Ted Tao, and Judge Lino Lipinski de Orloff. Our colleagues, Judge John Webb, Judge David Richman, Judge Terry Fox, Judge Stephanie Dunn, and Judge Karen Ashby could not be here today to participate in this ceremony, but on their behalf and on behalf of the entire court, I welcome all of you. Before I introduce some of the very special people and honored guests who have come here today to witness and to be a part of this important event in Matt's life, let me share a bit of history and a few thoughts about the Colorado Court of Appeals. The Colorado Court of Appeals has been created, disbanded, and created again periodically since 1891 in response to an ever-increasing volume of appellate cases. The current Court of Appeals was created almost 50 years ago. In fact, we will celebrate our birthday in the year 2020. And I think we've aged very well, don't you? 50 years ago, there were 6 judges who officed in the old Farmers Union building at 15th and Sherman Street, and they heard oral arguments in the old Supreme Court chambers across the street in the state capitol. Eventually, in 1977, the Court of Appeals, with the Supreme Court, moved to a courthouse on this very location. It is true that it was a brand new building, but from the very onset, it was fraught with problems. Budget, design, construction, and otherwise, including, by the way, a leak in the roof so that water dripped down right over the podium where counsel argued in the Court of Appeals courtroom. And then, a little over 6 years ago, in mid-December 2012, we moved into this lovely building, the Ralph L. Carr Judicial Center. And here we are in January 2019, now 22 Court of Appeals judges, all settled in this beautiful, thoughtfully designed, well-constructed home. By the way, for those of you in the audience who are visiting the Ralph Carr Center for the very first time, I encourage you, if you haven't done so already, to take a few minutes to explore the public areas in the entire complex, including the many pieces of public art and, of course, the one-of-a-kind Judicial Learning Center on the first floor of this building. Now, I have heard it said that public art is not necessarily always interesting or beautiful. I would disagree with that, at least in this building. Each piece is lovely and thoughtfully designed, and some of the pieces have an extra synergistic effect depending on when the sun comes in. For example, in the stairway just outside this door that goes up between here and the 4th floor, there's a large sculpture that is a series of metal rings that represents a timeline from the Declaration of Independence to the date when this court was formally dedicated by Justice Sonia Sotomayor from the United States Supreme Court in May of 2013. In the morning, from the late spring until the early fall, when the sun hits that sculpture, there is light that dances in that stairwell. It is truly a lovely thing. Now, let me introduce some of our honored guests. As I introduce you, I'd ask each guest to please wave or to stand up so that we can see where you are. Also, if the audience would please be so kind, please withhold your applause and recognition of our honored guests until all of them have been introduced. First, from our Colorado Supreme Court, we are honored to have Chief Justice Nathan B. Coates, who will administer the oath of office to Matt. Justice Monica Marquez, Justice Brian Boatwright, Justice Richard Gabriel, Justice Will Hood, and Justice Carlos Samore. Justice Melissa Hart is unable to join us today. I am also pleased to recognize two former Chief Judges of the Colorado Court of Appeals, my friends and mentors, Senior Judge Janice Davidson and Alan Loeb. Several former judges of the Colorado Court of Appeals are with us today. Senior Judge Jim Casebolt, Senior Judge Gail Miller. Acting as the bailiff for these proceedings is the Clerk of the Court of Appeals, Polly Brock. Next, I am pleased to welcome from the District Court in Colorado's 2nd Judicial District, Chief Judge Michael Martinez. He's not here with us. And from the District Court in Colorado's 18th Judicial District, Judge Patricia Herron. Is Judge Herron here? No. We are joined today by Colorado State Court Administrator Chris Ryan. 0 for 3. Is Judge William Lucero, the presiding disciplinary judge, with us? 0 for 4. It's a cold streak. How about United States Administrative Law Judge James Plott? Yes, Judge Plott is here. And Colorado Attorney General Phil Weiser. We are also joined by two former Solicitor Generals of the state of Colorado, Dan Domenico and Fred Yarger. I want to recognize Jackie Cooper Melmed, Chief Legal Counsel to Governor Hickenlooper and also to Governor Jared Polis, Jenna Goldstein, who is Senior Deputy Legal Counsel to the Governor, and Deputy Legal Counsel to the Governor, Martina Hinojosa. Ms. Cooper Melmed, as she has done so kindly on other occasions like this, will offer some remarks about the governor's new appointee a bit later. We also have with us former special aide to Governors Bill Ritter and John Hickenlooper, Charlie Garcia. Charlie, are you here? And Chief Deputy Regulatory Counsel, Margaret Funk. Ms. Funk. Is Colorado State Senator Michael Foote here? Wonderful. And how about former State Senator Penfield Tate? Is anyone here today from the Supreme Court Nominating Commission? On behalf of the Court of Appeals, I would nonetheless like to thank all of the members of that commission for their hard work and excellent selection of nominees to our court. I see that former Attorney General Cynthia Kaufman just came.
Your Honor.
Thank you, Ms. Kaufman. Is Kat Shea here, the president of the Colorado Women's Bar Association? There's Kat. I now want to introduce the member of Matt's family who have come to share their pride and joy at his investiture as a Court of Appeals judge. We have with us today Matt's wife, Catherine Grove, from whom we shall hear more later, and Matt's and Catherine's two children, Carolyn and Jacob. We are also joined by Matt's brothers, Dan Grove and Andrew Grove, Hannah Grove, Matt's sister Elizabeth Green, and her husband Brian Green, and Matt's nieces Catherine Green. Hannah, by the way, is a niece, and Elizabeth Grove, and Matt's nephew David Green. Thank you all for being here. Please join me in a round of applause for all of our honored guests. We're now going to proceed to the official portions of this ceremony. Others will soon speak more broadly on this issue, but I wish to begin by recognizing that Matt is assuming an important and a difficult task. Justice Potter Stewart once said that the mark of a good judge is when you're reading their decision, their opinion, you cannot tell if it's written by a man or a woman, a liberal or a conservative, a Muslim, a Jew, or a Christian. You just know you're reading a good judicial decision. I have no doubt that Matt will write many good judicial decisions because I am confident that he will be an exceptional judge. I would now ask Ms. Cooper-Melmed to briefly introduce us to Governor Hickenlooper's new appointee, and she will also be speaking on behalf of Governor Polis. If you would, Ms. Cooper-Melmed, please come to the podium to my left. You're already there.
Been here before. Chief Judge Bernard, members of the court, Chief Justice Coates, and members of the judiciary, thank you so much for being here. As always, this is quite an honor. We are here to celebrate the investiture of the newest judge to the Court of Appeals. He is assuming the spot vacated by Judge Loeb. Those of you who were here last week might recall that I said the same thing when we were talking about Judge Lipinski. Turns out I was wrong. That vacancy was created by the retirement of Judge Lichtenstein. I was in such a hurry to heap praise on Judge Loeb that I mentioned it last week. I will not repeat those comments, but Judge Loeb, rest assured, they are just as true today as they were last week. As usual, for this vacancy, we had 3 very impressive nominees. We owe the incredible depth of this bench and others to the impressive candidates we get every time from the Judicial Nominating Commission. And I want to recognize Michael Beaver and Kendra Beckwith, both of whom were incredibly impressive nominees. And as usual, Governor Hickenlooper had a very difficult decision to make. I want to acknowledge them and thank them, as always, for their willingness to serve on the Court of Appeals. For this appointment, Governor Hickenlooper's final to this bench. The decision was incredibly difficult, but he made a very good one in selecting Matt Grove. There is no one more fitting for such a momentous appointment. Judge Grove has a long and impressive career as a public servant, as many of you know here know very well. He served as a clerk for Justice Coates on the Supreme Court. He worked for many years at the Attorney General's office and appeared before this body for well over a decade. He was eventually appointed to be Senior Assistant Attorney General and Assistant Solicitor General, although he did spend some time in private practice and also some time in some rather exotic venues, such as the island of Yap in Micronesia. That was one of our favorite aspects of his application and what we were most excited to hear about. Maybe you want to tell people about that today. Throughout our diligence process, we spoke with dozens of judicial officers and attorneys about the nominees. And from those conversations, we found that Matt has, as you all know, a widely held reputation for being hardworking, diligent, highly skilled, thoughtful, and a top-notch appellate attorney. I think I owe a little bit of an apology to the folks at the Attorney General's office. I got lots and lots of personal phone calls from all of you. And the general tenor of those remarks was, Matt's amazing. Matt will be an incredible judge. please don't appoint him. We really don't want this. Sorry, but we had to do it. So I believe that your new colleagues here will be just as impressed and just as grateful for your service. Credentials are, of course, important, but so is character, and Matt displayed the qualities that make him a well-rounded person and a well-rounded judge in ways that you can't quite get in a resume. We all know and admire the somewhat stoic, no-nonsense, brilliant legal mind who now serves on this court, but let me assure you there is a very warm heart under that serious exterior. So I'm going to embarrass you a little bit, Matt. I won't get into too much detail, but during your interview, as I'm sure you remember well, Matt couldn't get more than a couple of sentences out about you without choking up a little. It was really sweet and really showed us the depth of the human being that we have here. Sorry to make you do it again. But that wasn't the only one, and the other one is a little more fun. When we called Matt from my office to inform him that he had been appointed, he said, calm, cool, and collected, "Thank you so much, I really appreciate it." Now, some judges, maybe someone who's sitting up here, just collapse into a puddle when they get this call, but not Matt. But just a couple of minutes later, the phone rang in the policy office, which we can hear very well from our office, and Matt called a colleague there and expressed all of the enthusiasm and happiness and jumping for joy that we expected to hear. We were really happy that you felt that way, Matt, because we felt the same way. We were jumping for joy at your appointment. So I want to, again, thank Judge Loeb for your service. I want to recognize Judge Lichtenstein for her service. And Matt, congratulations. On behalf of former Governor Hickenlooper, on behalf of Governor Polis, we know you will do an amazing job.
I believe that former State Senator Penfield Tate has joined us. It is traditional for us next to learn something about each new Court of Appeals judge. Matt, I understand that you have asked your wife, Catherine, to do the honors. Would you please approach the podium over here and do so?
So some of you may have seen me pacing in the hall, practicing my speech, trying to avoid any tears during my delivery of remarks today, but whew, it's already it's already started. So thank you, Chief Judge Bernard, judges, distinguished guests, family and friends. I'm here to share a few remarks about Matthew Grove, the newest appointment to the Colorado Court of Appeals. Matt and I met over 11 years ago at the Colorado Attorney General's office. It was his last day at the appellate unit at the AG's office prior to going into private practice. A mutual colleague and friend had asked him to move a filing cabinet from my office to hers. While this was helpful for our colleague's storage needs, apparently she had another agenda in mind, and that was to play matchmaker. For any of you who, well, so many of you we know so well, know that both Matt and I were completely oblivious to her efforts. She was quite successful, and I'm so pleased to share with all of you that yesterday Matt and I celebrated our 10-year wedding anniversary. There are so many faces here today who were present with us on that day, and it is a glorious thing to share this wonderful event with you here today as well. I would like, this is the part where I'll get choked up. Matt's dad wasn't able to travel to be here today, but I do understand he's watching this online. And Matt's mom passed away about 8 years ago. And for all of you who know Matt's mom, the entirety of North Carolina would have heard about Matt's appointment. Whether that was through prayer chains or conversations or coffee or tea or whatever the circumstances were. But I assure you, every single person in heaven today knows that Matt is being sworn in to the Colorado Court of Appeals. So, Matt, I just want to say to you today that every day I am grateful for the filing cabinet that was moved to my office. You are an amazing partner, and I cannot imagine my life without you. So, again, this last 11 years has been filled with so many wonderful adventures for us. And I'd like to share one particular moment. It was about 3 months into our relationship. We decided to take a road trip across country that I see some of you shaking your head saying in disbelief, why would you do that so soon in your developing relationship? It was a very interesting experience, but also a wonderful and amazing trip. And I have a very vivid memory of that trip. We had stopped for lunch at a Cracker Barrel, and we were eating lunch. And during that lunch, it was before we reached Missouri. That's where things got really interesting. But we had stopped for lunch, and it was at that time that Matt shared with me his professional aspirations of becoming an appellate court judge. He also shared with me during that conversation that he wanted to name his child Tyrannosaurus Rex. He said that he thought it was a very strong name. Ty for short, Rex or T. Is this guy for real? Was the first question that ran through, one of the first questions that ran through my head. The next question was, who wants to be a Court of Appeals court judge? And it is this sweet, goofy, lovely, clever man who wanted to be a judge, and he has worked tirelessly towards his goal. And yes, he obviously came to his senses on the T-Rex thing. He is a smart guy and knows when to make a case and when some things are just worth being let go. Thankfully, for the sake of our sweet children, Caroline and Jacob, he came to his senses. Now, as you can imagine, T-Rex is a punchline for a lot of jokes in our household. So Matthew, please know that Caroline, Jacob, and I love you this much. So Matt is not just a funny guy, though. Matt is an exceptional attorney. He has ease with complex concepts, distilling issues in an accessible way. He's an excellent writer, an exceptionally fast writer, and he has an ability to present well-reasoned and thought-out arguments. He is very respected in the community, valued by his clients, and often this information actually came to me through friends and colleagues, because it is not information that would typically come from Matt. He tends to be very understated in his many talents. He is a dedicated public servant for 14 years, with service as a Supreme Court clerk, as an appellate attorney, and a litigator at both the Colorado Attorney General's office and in the YAP state of Federated States of Micronesia. He's not just a phenomenal attorney, but is also a gifted musician. He's played violin since he was 4. He studied music while he was at Duke, and he currently plays the violin in the Denver Philharmonic. Additionally, he has been a soccer referee for 28 years, refereeing professional and collegiate level games. His intellectual curiosity is insatiable. He reads everything. He loves history, geography, music, and traveling. He is an avid runner, and he is truly remarkable in so many ways. With so many talents, it could be easy for someone to be immodest but there is humility in who Matt is. He is driven, yes, but he is aware that not everyone has the same opportunities that he has had, or shares the same interests, or has the same passions. He encourages those around him, don't cry, to be the best self and pursue their passions. He makes every day, he works every day to be mindful of those who are different and values fairness, equity, and justice. Lastly, Matt is a dedicated and loving father. His family is everything to him, and he is everything to us. So one component of Matt's interview that also wasn't shared was, so Matt's interview with the governor was his second interview with the governor, and our family was rooting like crazy for Matt. And we really wanted Matt to have something during his interview that might be of good luck to him. And so our children made a little gift for Matt that he took into the interview with him. And Caroline was insistent that if the opportunity presented itself, that she introduce Jeffrey the Good Luck Snake to the governor. So can you come up? She did. There was an opportunity for Matt to present Jeffrey the Good Luck Snake to Matt during his interview. And today, Daddy, we want you to know that your brilliance and wonderfulness will be awesome on the court, but if you ever need just a little bit of luck, we want you to have Jeffrey the Good Luck Snake in your office. Thank you so much.
And I should note that Jeffrey the Good Luck Snake has joined us as well. I also wonder if Tyrannosaurus Rex was going to be the first child, I wonder what the second child is going to be. We now proceed to administer the oath of office. Matt has asked Chief Justice Nathan B. Coates of the Colorado Supreme Court to perform that honor. Matt, if you would, please join Chief Justice Coates at the lectern.
I wasn't afraid you all wouldn't provide the right materials, but I brought my own. Okay, you ready, Matt?
I'm ready.
Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Matthew D. Grove,
I, Matthew D. Grove,
do solemnly, sincerely, and truly declare
do solemnly, sincerely, and truly declare
that I will support the constitutions of the United States
that I will support the constitutions of the United States
and of the state of Colorado,
and of the state of Colorado,
and will faithfully perform the duties
and will faithfully perform the duties
of the office of Judge of the Colorado Court of Appeals,
of the office of Judge of the Colorado Court of Appeals,
upon which I am about to enter.
upon which I am about to enter.
Congratulations.
We now proceed to the robing ceremony. Catherine, Caroline, and Jacob will assist in robing our new judge. I ask our most junior judge, who was just sworn in a week ago, Judge Lino Lipinski de Orloff, to escort our newest colleague to the bench. Judge Grove, we enthusiastically congratulate you on your appointment. And now I will ask you to please share with us some of your thoughts on this occasion.
Distinguished guests, colleagues, friends and family from near and far, thank you all for coming today. It means so much to me that all of you were able to attend. You all heard from my lovely wife, Casey, just now, and I would like to take just a moment to thank her not only for her inspiring speech, in which she managed to keep from mocking me too much, but also for her unwavering support of pretty much everything that I do. I wouldn't be here today without her. First things first, though, my wife mentioned that yesterday was our 10-year wedding anniversary. Coming in the midst of the excitement of getting ready for today, with getting settled in here at the court, with family coming in, that is a milestone that I may not have strictly, how should I put this, remembered. So let me try and make up for that a little bit here. The good news is that with 11 people staying at our less than enormous house, it has been really hard to banish me to the couch. I also want to thank my mother-in-law, Catalina Gwynn. As Casey mentioned, my own mother passed away in 2011, and I can't believe it's been almost 8 years since then. She grew up in a working-class neighborhood in Philadelphia with parents who had lived through the Great Depression, and as a result of that, she was thrifty. One example of that thrift was her sewing. I don't know how many of you are the right age to remember this line of clothing called Jams. They were basically Hawaiian shorts, and back in middle school and high school, at my age, no self-respecting cool kids. And I can assure you that, as I'm sure all of my colleagues here were, I was a self-respecting cool kid. Would be seen without them. Well, these shorts might have been fashionable and name brand, but they were expensive, which was anathema to my mom. But she came up with a solution that at the time I found completely mortifying. She sewed several pairs of these shorts for me herself. Looking back at that now, I actually think it was pretty neat, although I'm sure I didn't express it at the time. But time has changed my views about that sort of thing, and I recognized that making those shorts for me wasn't so much an act of thrift as it was an act of love. So it was in that spirit, and because she's an amazing seamstress, that I asked Catalina if she would make the robe that I just put on, and that I will wear while I'm serving on the bench. It may not be one of these fancy name brand robes like all these cool kids. But you know, there's no label on the outside of these at all. So this time, you really can't tell. Thank you, Catalina. Those of you who know me well, or even not so well, know, and Casey mentioned this, that outside of my career in the law, my life has largely been taken up by three things. My work as a soccer referee, music, these days mostly as a violinist in the Denver Philharmonic, and spending time with my wonderful family. The experiences that I've had with each of these have taught me a number of valuable lessons, both professionally and personally. I'd like to talk about three of these today. I began officiating soccer when I was 15. My mother suggested that it would be a good part-time job and perhaps hoped that it would help me build a little bit of confidence and decisiveness. With my appointment to the Colorado Court of Appeals, I've decided to hang up the whistle. I mean, I don't know if you've ever tried to run in one of these robes. It really doesn't work. But my experiences on the soccer field have imparted to me many important things about life and relationships. Soccer is a unique game, one that from an officiating standpoint is colored in shades of gray. While the rules are for the most part simple and straightforward, every referee brings with him or her his or her own unique vision of how they should be applied. Styles, tolerance levels, fitness, all vary from referee to referee, and those differences lend to the game a very human element. Perhaps it is because of that natural variability that as you reach the highest levels of the sport, you begin to realize that the most successful officials aren't necessarily the ones whose decision-making is the most accurate in a technical sense. Rather, the referees who really excel are the people who relate to others the best. In most cases, almost by definition, half the people watching or participating in a soccer match will be unhappy with every decision that a referee makes. As an official, you get past that by being approachable but firm, making an effort to explain and sell your decisions where necessary, and showing empathy and understanding for those who feel aggrieved. I think that perhaps, though, the most relevant lesson from my officiating career comes from the late, great Bob Evans, who was always quick to emphasize that accurate decisions on the soccer field depend more on the angle of view than on the proximity to play. That is, as a referee, you can be right on top of an interaction between two players, but if you aren't looking at something in the right way, you're likely to mess the call up anyway. That's a lesson I took to heart in the practice of law, and it is one that I think translates directly to the bench. Our job as appellate judges is to ensure that those who interact with Colorado's courts are given a fair shake. And to do that, we should take care to view cases, arguments, litigants, and counsel from every appropriate angle. That, I believe, is how we can be most effective, and it is the path toward encouraging continued faith in the integrity of our justice system. As Casey also mentioned, I started playing the violin when I was 4, and music has been a big part of my life ever since. As with soccer, playing on my own, with orchestras, and with small ensembles has shaped my outlook in a number of ways. But I think that one of music's most important lessons is the importance of listening. As a conductor of mine told an orchestra that I played with years ago, I think in some frustration, playing the right note in the wrong place still means that you're playing the wrong note. So how do you avoid that problem? Well, the two best ways are to count and to listen. I went to law school, so counting's not really my strong point. So the way that I've gotten around it is by listening. I make an effort to listen, to develop ensemble with my section, with the rest of the orchestra. As a member now of a court whose collegiality is one of the keys to its success, that's a hard-won lesson, and one that I pledge to follow in the coming years. Learning to listen has also been a priority with my family, especially with a couple of active young children in the house. But the teaching from home that I hope to bring to my appointment to this court comes almost daily from my lovely wife, who so kindly introduced me this afternoon. What she's made me aware of, and although I think I'm still in the process of learning it, is that while what you say is important, how you say it and how you express yourself is also critical to respectfully and effectively communicating. That holds true whether you are speaking with someone in person or reducing your thoughts to writing. Empathy and understanding at home, just as on the soccer field and everywhere else, are critical communicative tools that I will do my best to use in every interaction that I have as a judge. With these and many other lessons learned, I'm excited to get started and contribute everything that I can to the advancement of Colorado's justice system. I pledge to be fair, forthright, collegial, and respectful to all. And if I succeed in that, I know that I will fit in just fine here. As someone who argued from that lectern and from under the Rube Goldberg contraption in the old building many times, I can tell you that the jurists sitting up here today are the best. Their collegiality, their meticulous preparation, respect for one another, and for those who appear in front of them shines through in every case. I'm honored to join them and contribute to the distinguished legacy of this court. I won't be perfect, but I will do my best each and every day to uphold the rule of law in this great state that we all live in. Thank you for coming.
No one in this room will ever top the flowers. To help celebrate this wonderful moment with our new judge and his family and friends, a reception in Judge Grove's honor will be held immediately following this ceremony. The reception will be directly outside of the courtroom in the atrium. We invite all of our guests to join our new judge, his family, and the rest of us there. The court will be in recess. Ms. Brock, would you please so announce?
All rise. The Colorado Court of Appeals is now in recess.